Marching St. Augustine tonight, my Lord. Ready for your freedom? Oh, yes. Are you ready for your freedom? Oh, yes. Do you want freedom? Oh, yes. Hey, we're beginning to get it. And you know what? There were people about 60 some years ago, and they were learning that one. And they were singing it over and over and over again, because this says, as you would gather in the churches, people would gather in the churches, in both in Lincolnville and also in West Augustine, then in order to just get into what we're going to be doing that night and how we are going to be marching into downtown St. Augustine from here, and how we are going to be going to a place where we know that there are Klansmen that are waiting for us, and where there are police that are not exactly happy that we're going to be there either, and where there are other people that are going to yell at us and curse us and spit on us and punch us and throw bricks at us and at times beat us with sticks. That's what we're facing, and we know it's going to be happening again tonight, because it's happened the other nights that we marched as well. 1964, there was a sustained action, and as it says here on this page right here, it's the last great demonstration campaign of the civil rights movement. And it is the one that actually, because it was so brutal and so harsh, that it brought about the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, direct result. This is kind of like the thing that broke the camel's back, because it was that bad here. It was on national TV night after night after night. The real power of what happened was that you had a group of people who had been trained in the practices of Gandhi, and they have been trained by Andrew Young, and they have been trained to keep the discipline of maintaining a view of the people who are going to attack them and curse them as human beings, as people that they are neighbors with in this town. And the core group of the people that were going down there, let's take a look on page 21. Who was marching in St. Augustine tonight, my Lord? Children and young people mostly. That's because they could not be fired from their jobs for doing that by white employers. And they could not be thrown out of school because they were going to black schools. And it was also young people from Florida Memorial College, which was a significant college in West Augustine. And it will be the site of the St. Augustine or the Florida Black History Museum in the near future. How about that? Because Nancy was on the bus when the bus burned. Nancy, wave your hand right here. So Nancy Burby, there you go. And Nancy is the liaison from the Compassion St. Augustine to the International Charter for Compassion. And are you also liaison for what? Is it for US?
Compassionate Ambassador at Large.
Ambassador at Large.
Wherever they need to be.
Okay, good.
Compassionate Florida right now.
Right. Welcome here, Nancy.
Thank you.
And other people from Compassion St. Augustine and Compassionate Women that are here, glad that you're here. And probably a few more are going to be showing up as well. So this is a group of people right here on page 21. And there's a picture like this, a photograph. And then I worked with, people ask, do you do these illustrations, Warren? And the answer is, I create the illustrations. It was like a studio of creatives working on this. So there were two other illustrators and myself. So you'll see a variety of styles of illustration in the booklets. What I did though what's the story? Where's the action moment in the story where something really, a strong action happened? And then I look for that, and then I get all the historical background, photographs, everything that you need in order to have that background and research it. And then if I did it, then I would do the illustration. If Bob Lewis did it, and first of all, it was Lewis and Clark's explorations of La Florida for about 10 years, and we were in 50 publications around the state. And so if Bob did it, then I would send all that information to him with a rough sketch. This is what I want. And then if Richard Gamache, who later did these, then I would do the same thing with him. Richard would talk about it because once they sent them back to me, then I would mess with them here, change them there, color them, but really alter them sometimes. And Richard, who was a darn good artist, he said, okay, what you do, Warren, is you're going to Warrenize these things. And I did.
That's cute.
Okay. So this one about children shall lead them. There is a UCC chaplain at Boston University that was here a lot, and he was arrested with Dr. King while he was here. And he was the one who said, the children were the heroes. Without their young people, they never would have overcome segregation. It was the children's participation. Children of this town that learned the discipline of Gandhi and practiced it at all costs. Children of this town. Cool, okay? And then, here's what they said. We sang every night before we went out to get up our courage. See that little piece down there in the bottom? And the Klan was always watching for us, these folks with the chains, the bricks and things. After we were attacked, we come back to the church. So you've been down there and you have been attacked and you come back to the church, and that's where we would sing a song, we love everybody. Like really keeping it in mind that we love everybody, even when it was very hard to love the people who were doing that to you. Now let's go to the next page, turn over, and you'll see a picture of Andrew Young, and that's my illustration. And so this one is the story about Andrew Young. He was employed by the National Council of Churches. He was a UCC minister, okay? And he was employed by he had been in pastors up in Connecticut and other places, and also in Alabama and Mississippi, and but the congregational churches. And so then this night that this thing happened to him, and you see the picture there where he's being beaten and bleeding, okay?
What page?
It is page 22. Yep, there you go. And so this is what the setting for this is that it had gotten so rough that Dr. King and the others of the civil rights movement said, we need to suspend this march tonight. Don't do it. And they sent Andrew Young here to go and meet with the people that were getting together at Shiloh Church. And Shiloh Church is still on West Augustine on West King Street. And so the good ministries are being done in that church as we speak. So at Shiloh Church that night, this is what happened. He got there and the people were really ready. They weren't about to back down, and they were really fired up to go down and march, and he realized he couldn't say, hey, we're not gonna do it. He just couldn't do that. It wasn't possible to stop it. And so he said, okay, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna try to do it in a way that kind of like trying to avoid the worst of it. So I'll read this to you. We knew a mob of white supremacists was waiting, and violence against protesters was likely. We prayed. Think about it. Think about it yourself. If you were in Minneapolis, and you were going to be, say you're at a UCC church there, or Methodist church, Presbyterian, whatever, and you're there and you're going to be going down there where the ICE agents are, and they're going to be shooting you in the face with bear stuff, the stuff to make bears go is really what it is. And they're going to possibly be beating on you. 2 people have been killed, and you're going to be going down there. So we prayed, and a woman started to sing, be not dismayed, whate'er be the tide, God will take care of you. That's not really good, but you know what, you know the song, right? Somebody else knows the song. Yeah, and so moving right along, Warren. And so then, and this is what Andrew Young said about that. Now, I love that song, but it's quite different believing it in church on Sunday than when facing an angry mob outside on Friday night. That's what they were going into. Okay, so they go down there, and this is what happened. Andrew Young had been teaching these young people, and they've been singing that song, I'm going to love it, I got to love everybody, or we're going to love everybody, and many other songs. And then he came, and then so they got down there, and right as they got to the plaza, he saw a group of the Klansmen that were over there. They weren't in robes, but he knew them. And so he went, okay, I'm going to go over there and talk to him, because in New Orleans I did some things where I calmed the waters like this, and I know how to talk to people. He got over there, and they paid him no heed. They just started really closing in on him, and then they just started doing what you see in the illustration, beating him down onto the ground, bleeding, kicking, everything they could do. There was so much pent-up rage and hatred and anger. And so he was concerned then that those young people that were right there across the street, on King Street, across King Street, watching all of this going on, that those young people were going to react with violence. They were going to come over and start getting into a melee. But what they did, and this is while somebody was helping him get up and get away from that, what they did was, over there on that sidewalk, they started singing to the Klansmen, I've got to love everybody, I've got to love everybody. And can we hear that music? And so what it's going to do is going to play 3 times, okay? I want you to close your eyes, and in the first time there, I want you to put both feet on the floor. Close your eyes, and then imagine, visualize this thing happening with Andrew Young over there being beaten up. And you're seeing this, and you know they can come right after you too. There's a whole group of marchers that are there, they've stopped and are watching.
I love everybody. I love everybody. I love everybody in my heart.
And they started singing this
I love everybody.
on that plaza.
I love everybody. I love everybody in my heart.
When they got back to the church, almost every night walking back to the church, they would be walking back singing this. They got into the church building, and they were bleeding. Some of them were just really had been really mauled over. And they got into their chairs, their pews, and they kept singing it. And Andrew Young said, sometimes we would sing this song for an hour to get into it. The power of this song. The power of seeing your neighbor who hates you and seeing that person, that human being, that child of God. Now, imagine you're in Minneapolis and you're coming back to a church after being out there taking pictures, being all around those ICE stations, seeing what's taking place, perhaps being hurt by it. And that also is what we could be singing and may well be singing as we are in our own times, similar in many ways to those times. That's the power of one of the songs. We heard the other one. I'm going to march in St. Augustine tonight. The contrast of the violence and the peaceful protest is what stopped ICE in Minneapolis. A whole outpouring of people who kept the discipline of peaceful protest. It is incredibly powerful to be able, particularly in a society like ours, it is incredibly powerful to help bring transformation and a shift in direction. And there's real courage in doing that kind of peaceful protest in the face of raw anger and hatred. And we can be capable of that, whatever age we are. So that's one of the things we can learn from that time there. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see exactly where that place is, where Andrew Young was beaten, and where that I Love Everybody started to be sung, is on the plaza. It is in the diagonal walking into the plaza, and it is on the southwest corner. And you will see they made models in bronze of the soles of his shoes, and they put paint on the soles of his shoes with the large pieces of rolled out paper, and they had him walk that, and so that they could actually capture Andrew Young's gait. And so you have Andrew Young's footsteps walking into the plaza in bronze casting with beautiful words right out of the civil rights movement that are placed in that pavement there. It's a fabulous thing to see. Go see it. Now, let's take a look on page 23. There was a whole different kind of demonstrations that occurred, particularly on the coastlines of the South. And these were wade-ins for civil rights, so that whites-only beaches wouldn't be whites-only beaches, but they would be for all of God's children, for all of us. And so that is the kind of demonstration that began to emerge here. But I was captured by the name of this, wade-ins, and taking it back to the song that we've sung a number of times in this church, which is Wade in the Water. Okay, and the Wade in the Water is an old African American. It is a spiritual. It is also very much a one of remembrance of how God stirred the waters. He troubled the waters of the Nile River in order to let the people go, to let them go free. And so that is the origin of the Wade in the Water song. And people were singing that on plantations. And they were singing it later as they were dealing with Jim Crow. And so, and the other interesting thing I came across is Harriet Tubman. Now, she knew that song. And so she made 13 trips to the South to free more than 70 enslaved persons. And it is thought that she used wade in the water as a command as she was bringing people out. And the wade in the water was, so you get into the water now, so that breaks the scent of the dogs, so they can't track us. And you wade in the water for a stretch, and then we come out again. And, the thing about the songs was the thing that later, as I reflected back on the book and wrote the introduction to it, was like the power of the songs for people who want to do something to have this be a better world. That really it really works. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to this rendition of Wade in the Water, and it is done from South Africa. And the kind of energy that was in the original song here is what I think you will feel as you listen to this song now.
We got Wade in water, wade in water, children, wade in water. Wade in water, wade in water, children, wade in water. God's in trouble water. We got a sign and a promise. We got a stand and make it out. The sign across the railroad and not the people go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's running out to the railroad and not the people go. We like shine and say, if you have a hard way, take the heavens. Don't take no trouble and not the people go. Not when it is that we gather through the years. Don't say no trouble and not you go. Wade in the water, wade in the water, wade in the water. Wade in the water, wade in the water, wade in the water, wade in the water.
Thank you. I think we got it. So that's the energy of that song, okay? And then here are the wade-ins. They looked down at the bottom, wade in the water, May 9th, 1945. 7 civil rights activists staged a wade-in Baker's Haulover Beach. At the time, it was exclusively for white people, and the response to the protest was the founding of Virginia Key Beach. It opened in 1945, Miami's first black-only beach. 1955, a Sarasota wade-in. 1955, a St. Petersburg wade-in. 1961, a Fort Lauderdale wade-in. And there were ones up in South Carolina, Georgia, in Alabama and Louisiana. In 1964, the St. Augustine wade-in. Wade-ins look like this picture. This is an amazing story of this young woman that was at the wade-in just south, right almost beside the St. Augustine Pier where it is right now. And there's a marker there for it. When a ruffian came after a young demonstrator, see the young black man there? Or are they adolescent really? Joanne Wells stepped between them. "You want to hit someone black?" she yelled. "Well, hit me, not him." The man slowly lowered his club and walked away. It was scenes like this that helped change American public opinion. And it was totally nonviolent. The violence was all on the other side. That is what we can learn from the music and also from the people that did civil rights. And we're in the same situation now to be engaged in doing this again. But the power is in the song. So friends, that's what I wanted to share with you about it. And if what you have in your hands right now, this is one of 3 booklets that I've done about Florida and St. Augustine history. And so this one is Light One Candle. It is all stories about people. This is my favorite book by far. And it's also the one that sells the least. I mean, Florida's rowdy ass sells great. But this one is about those people that had a vision for a better future, a better world, and then acted on their visions. And then it's everything from environmentalism and the founding of the Everglades National Park by a leading woman in the women's clubs and in the League of Women's Voters in the 1920s and 30s here, who had been the first lady of the state at one time. And then also people that's on pages 8 and 9 And so Jose Marti and a young man who grew up here, who was the grandson of the man you see him in the uniform over there in front of the fort, that was his grandfather. And they wanted him to go in the military. And the priest, Miguel O'Reilly, and his house is still here on Avila Street. You can go into it, and you can see the place where this young man was mentored. He really helped him understand, because he was Irish, the power of the church working for social justice principles back in those times. So there's that in there. So you have people doing the part of the Cuban freedom movement, and then laborers in the cigar factories in Tampa, and they had worker-owned and led self-education. It was silent when you're making cigars, and so they had this guy with a great big baritone voice, Lector, and he had a whole program all day long where he read to them different things that the workers picked up. And they were learning about unions, and they were learning about self-help work and agencies. They started their own hospitals, their own doctors' clinics, all kinds of things. And just really worker self-help, self-education. There you go. So that's this book. And did anybody questions or thoughts or?
Thank you. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The other two are The Mystique of Spanish La Florida. And this really deals with, in some depth, well, not depth, because it's illustrations, they're one illustrations, but it deals with the role of the church for human rights. And when I'm talking about the role of the church for human rights, I'm talking about the Spanish Catholic Church. It started in 1520 in Guatemala because of what was happening with the conquistadors. And so it has that, and it also has stories in here about slavery and the distinction between slavery in British colonies, which was chattel slavery, like you on a horse or a donkey, and slavery in Spain, where there were ways to become free, and where there were things that that could not be done to you because you're a human being, and the people were Catholic, and so including the slaves, and so once the sanctity of marriage is done in the church, there was no breaking up of families in slavery in Spain, and there were really ways out of it. More like the Roman, or it was a different form than what we had in English. And so it has about, that's why we have Fort Jose, and the people come in here to get free.
I
Now,
just want to add one thing
yeah.
here, that, I see a real connection between your reflection down this morning with meditation and focusing, as we did with love. Well, each one of these pages is an opportunity, just as we did today. We did with music and your commentary, but it's just not, I don't know, 16 pages or whatever. But there's really a lot to be gleaned from this by spending the time with the images and your magnificent illustrations. It's congratulations and thank you.
Okay. So if there are not any more comments on this, I just wanted you to get a taste, and that song. And I'll be over there signing books if anybody wants one. Okay.
Thank you, Warren. That was good. And Ron, good job on the computer.
Thank you, Ron.
Yes.